this week we were able to update the Power 25 after two pretty good weeks of baseball across the state. So I'll let you guys kind of take us through some of the big notable jumps and maybe people that are leaving the Power 25 or maybe going down a little bit. But go ahead, guys.
Yeah, so just a quick note. I know last year with the Power 25, we kind of went very in depth on, breaking down the full Power 25. I think this year our plan is to not do that, just so we don't take away from the story that we put out every week regarding the Power 25. So really, I think the plan is just to kind of talk about, hey, what are the notable changes? Who's making a ton of moves up in the rankings? So I think we got to start out. There's a new number one. It is Edwardsville. Just feel like they've really passed the eye test for all of our staff who has seen them, and they're winning. They're winning convincingly against some really good teams. I know last week they played two really good teams in Missouri. They took I want to say they split those, so it just felt right. They're I want to say 6-1. Now I do want to double check this real quick, unless okay, yeah, 6-1, but it's hard not to like what they have on both sides of the ball. And Hammond, I don't know if you want to touch anything else there.
Especially the arms, like it is such a luxury to be able to trot out that many arms. And then like I wasn't super sure what their offense was going to look like, just like because like we've said a million times, they're always going to have guys that we don't know about. But like seeing them at the kickoff classic, they are super deep and super dynamic offensively. They have speed, they have power, they can hit for average. Like there is a lot to like, and they of course always pass the eye test. So man, they it's one of the best Edwardsville teams that I've seen in my 5 years of doing this, and they've had some pretty good teams recently. So yeah, they should be excited over there in Edwardsville. And then I noticed we didn't have this on here, but Linkaway West is number two now as well. They've just packed on a bunch of really good wins, like in pretty decisive fashion as well. But no, go ahead,
Well, one
Tucker.
quick note on Lincoln Way West. I know last week, back-to-back days, they no hit who they were playing. I don't have the teams off the top of my head, but they did their pitching staff combined for no hitters on back-to-back days, which is really impressive.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
not
it's high
bad.
school, right? But that's impressive. It doesn't matter what level you're at. So
But like, obviously, we knew they had big pitching, right, with Acevedo, Pettit, and Essenberg. And it looks like they're getting help in other, with other faces as well. So that's really big time because we already liked them a lot on the mound.
absolutely, and probably drops down to number three. Listen, they're 2-1. It's not as much a knock on them as it's a compliment to the two teams we just mentioned before that have just played more games to this point, and they're passing the eye test in those facets as well. But next team we want to touch on is Manuka, jumping three spots from number nine up to number six. They're 5-0 on the year. They have two ranked wins. Hammond, I know you've seen them. I don't know if you want to touch on anything with the Indians.
I mean, man, it's like the Braden Zillis show basically every time I look at the box score. I mean, he's always throwing the ball well. He's absolutely raking for him too. And CJ DeKinga, they got a ton of names. Carter Lennington, Isaac Goddard, like they got a lot of names we like. And yeah, I mean, they're off to a really good start, 5-0 with two ranked wins. Like it's hard not to jump them a few spots after that.
Yeah, and then two new teams enter the top 10. Naz and Triad both made huge jumps. Listen, Naz is 7-0. We're actually going to touch on one of their wins here in a little bit. There's actually a cool backstory there, but and then there's Triad, 6-1. I felt like a resounding theme that our staff had it after seeing Triad at the kickoff classic was like we're way too low on them. Right, they were at 20. We're like they've got to make big moves the next time we update it. Just how deep their lineup is, and also the arms and quality of arms that they have. It was really like a no-brainer to throw them into the top 10. The beat continues to move for them. Two ranked Illinois wins, and then also they are 1-1 versus ranked Missouri teams last week. So it doesn't matter what state or who they're playing, they're continuing to roll. So just two teams there that have entered the top 10. Hampshire jumping nine spots up to number 13. They're 8-0. I think one win that really stuck out to me was they beat Harvest Christian. Really good 1A school, and I want to say Harvest Christian threw their top dogs on the mound as well. So that's not some slouch win for the Whippers, but New team entering the Power 25 at number 16, DeKalb. 8-0 and two big time wins last week. They defeated number 18 Morris at the time and number 4 McHenry at the time. So, hey man, I don't know if you want to touch on anything with DeKalb, but they're certainly off to a really hot start.
Yeah, no, they have some names that we like. You know, like Cole Latimer is one, just for example. Really talented outfielder, also a big time quarterback for them, I believe. But no, they got a couple arms that we know are really talented and some other pieces throughout the lineup. So, you know, we're probably a little, maybe even too low on them heading into the season. I'm not sure if they expected to get off to this start that they did, but you know, 8-0 speaks for itself, and we'll have to get out and see them soon here.
Yep, and then Father McGivney up 4 spots at number 17. They're 7-2, but those two losses came when they were out of state on their spring break trip to two Tennessee teams. And one I want to say is a top 15 team in Tennessee. But listen, they're 7-0 in Illinois, and they're kind of rolling every single team they've played so far. So we'll keep monitoring them. O'Fallon enters at number 19. They're 5-1. They had two ranked wins down at the Kickoff Classic. I felt like when we saw O'Fallon, Hammond, I know you saw them. I want to say Gav or maybe even Drew saw them as well. So they seem like they passed the eye test. I don't know if either of you guys want to mention anything with O'Fallon.
Looks the part, super physical, and he hits in the middle of that order. And then like Asher Cantu is another physical bat they have. Yeah, I mean they've been one of the better teams in the state the last few years. So I mean they're no stranger to the success and you know how to handle that. Maybe like target on their back a little bit, but no, they definitely passed the eye test. I mean the game that I saw them, they actually lost. But still, you could just tell they're a really good team, and they're going to be dangerous down the stretch.
Yeah, the next team that enters in is Oswego at number 21. They're 6-0. They beat ranked Bennett team last week, and I saw Oswego at the Kickoff Classic, and like, man, they got some impressive looking athletes in that lineup. You know, not even to mention a guy like Cameron Jenkins, who's probably going to put up ridiculous numbers all spring, 2026 going to Missouri. But you know, the Panthers are playing really, really good ball to start. They're an older team as well, which helps. So we'll keep monitoring them. Another team that I
Tyler,
actually saw last. Oh, go
can I
ahead.
add to that? I think
Yeah.
you mentioned this last week too about Oswego, and I got to see them at the Kickoff Classic as well. But I think their entire lineup, except for Cam Jenkins, is seniors, which
Yep.
obviously bodes well for a team when you're in the high school season because obviously they have more experience and yeah, their lineup looked pretty good. They have some guys that can kind of mash too. With they got some power, so yeah, that's a good team there to keep an eye on.
No, that's a good shout. And then next is Lincoln Way East entering at number 22. They're 5-0. I'll touch on them more later, but I think the story with Lincoln Way East is just arms. Like Jack Bauer, they've got Cooper Johnson, Jack Tamer. They've got a bunch of arms, but I'll touch more on them later. But they are off to a 5-0 start. They're perennially a really good program as well. And then Andrew enters at number 23. They're 6-0. The thing that stuck out with them is they beat a really good St. Joe Ogden team that I think everybody amongst our staff believes is a really good team. Like that is an impressive win beating St. Joe Ogden. So they now enter at number 23. And I don't know if any of you guys have any more notes, but if not, I can just hop on down to these bubble teams. These are just some teams that are off to really good starts. Like, wouldn't be surprised if this time next week when we go over the Power 25, some of these teams I'm about to mention maybe enter the Power 25. But Hershey is off to a 5-0-1 start. St. Charles North, who I'll touch on here soon, they're off to a 2-1 start, but that one win was against the number one team in the state in Pravi. Lockport 4-1. I saw them. That's a really solid team. Plainfield North 4-0. Sacred Heart Griffin 6-1, and Mundelein is 5-1. But they've actually got. I know this podcast comes out on Wednesday, but they are actually playing in a big time matchup Tuesday, as long as the weather holds up against McHenry. So those are just some bubble teams I wanted to throw out there, guys. Feel free if there's any other teams I didn't mention that you think deserve some love, go for it.